Skinflick, a Dave Brandstetter mystery, Book 5. Author, Joseph Hansen. Publisher, Open Road Integrated Media. Narrator, Eric Aust. In memory of Dr. Dreadful, who left too soon. Chapter 21. A car he didn't know was parked in the dark by the piled cement bags, the sand heap, the stacked lumber in front of the French doors. He went into the courtyard. The fencing room was lighted up. A stranger was in there. He sat on the bed, phone on the floor at his feet, receiver at his ear. The light in the room was overhead, 200 watts, a naked bulb, bleak. Dave stood under the white flowers and trailing tendrils of the vine at the back of the courtyard and watched the man through the open door. He was half turned away, but he looked young and spare. He wore a brown double-knit suit and shoes that gleamed. His brown hair was cut 1930 style, neat, the latest. He spoke into the phone, and Dave thought he knew the voice. He went through the doorway and walked to the bed. Randy Van looked up and smiled. He picked up the phone, rose, handed Dave the phone, handed Dave the receiver. Dave took them dumbly, staring. There wasn't a trace of makeup. There was no enamel on the nails. Dave said, "Brandstetter," into the phone. "The soil samples from the closet floor at unit number 36, Salazar said, match the stuff from the clothes of the deceased, Gerald R. Dawson." "Dandy," Dave said. "Anything else?" "A lot of fingerprints. Who knows how long it will take to sort them out and get a line on them. Your witness, Cohen, told me she brought pickups there. She must have been busy. She sure as hell was too busy ever to clean the place. But he wasn't murdered there. Anyway, Brandstetter, when the neck is broken, the muscles that control the bladder and bowels let go." Dave said, "I know that. I also know it doesn't always happen. Only almost always." "Almost is good enough for me," Salazar said. "I don't want this case, and I don't get this case." "Don't hang up," Dave said, and put a hand over the mouthpiece. Randy was sorting through a stack of record albums on the floor. Dave asked him, "How long have you been here? Any other calls?" "About an hour." "Yes. Lieutenant Parker of the LAPD. He got the report from the lab where we left that envelope of Karen's. They phoned him, like you asked. Did he tell you what they said?" Randy nodded, studying a glossy color caricature of Mozart with a croquet mallet. "It's decomposed granite, and it doesn't match. The other was alluvial." He looked up at Dave. "He's going to the district attorney about it." "Thanks," Dave said. "You look very nice." "I feel ridiculous in these clothes," Randy said. "Does that mean the one with the horses gets out of jail?" "That's what it means," Dave said. "Why don't we drink to that? The cookhouse is over yonder." Randy got to his feet and put a kiss on Dave's mouth. "You're a nice man," he said, and went away. He didn't sway his hips. Salazar whistled into the phone. Dave took his hand off the mouthpiece. "Sony," he said, and told Salazar about getting the soil sample from Luker's place in Topanga, and about what the lab had said, and about Barker's reaction. "Now, I can ask him to do it, or I can ask you to do it. But somebody has to do it," he said. "What's that?" Salazar said. "Test Bucky's shoes," Dave said, "to see if what's on them matches what was in the closet." Salazar asked, "You know, I don't see how just eating lunch with a guy could do this to somebody, but I'm starting to think like you, and it hasn't helped. I checked out the kid's shoes. Negative. I even showed the kid to Cowan. Cowan isn't so sure now. He says Bucky looks smaller, but maybe it was the light. It was dark before." "It's still dark," Dave said. "I don't know. I just, damn it, don't know," he said on the bed, scowling to himself. Chewing his lower lip, Salazar asked him if he was still there. "I don't know where I am," Dave said. "Look, thanks very much. I'm sorry to have put you to all the trouble. I appreciate your cooperation and your help." "Anytime," Salazar said. "Somebody killed that man," Dave said. "Not the widow and orphan," Salazar said. "Write them their check and forget it." Sure, Dave said, but he wasn't listening. He was thinking about Bucky's size. He asked Salazar, "Are you going to be there for a while?" "I'm already into my 5th hour of overtime," Salazar said. "I'm going home to bed." "What about your stolen property office? Can you leave word with them that I 9 to 5, Brandstetter?" Salazar said, "Somebody in this crazy place keeps normal hours." "I'll see you in the morning," Dave said, and hung up. Randy came back carrying stubby glasses with what looked to be scotch over ice cubes. He handed Dave one of the glasses. "Does that mean we've got all night?" "I have something to do before sunrise," Dave said. "You mean besides right here?" Randy said. "After right here," Dave said. "You know, you should get dressed up funny more often." It wasn't sunrise, it was after, but the old black man in the starchy tan uniform sat upright and wide-eyed in his faded blue Corvair next to the driveway ramp down into the garages under Sylvia Katzman apartment complex. The street was steep, and the worn right front tire of the car was turned hard against the curb. Day put the Triumph into the lowest gear he could find with the stubby shift knob and climbed the hill. He got lost on twisting, narrow, shelf-like trees, but he found the place he wanted finally and parked and got out. It was the place where the chain-link fence was cut at the bottom, the corners folded back. He looked down. There were the kitchen windows of the top row of apartments. The one on number 36 was still open, the way he'd left it on his first visit. It was plain from here that climbing had taken place. Up the bank, the slant of the early sunlight, already promising heat again, showed up the marks of dug-in shoes or boots and of something heavy having been dragged. He got back into the Triumph and lost his way again, getting back down to the parked Corvair. The old man was drinking coffee out of a red plastic cup that was the cover of his thermos bottle. "Yes," he said, consideringly. "I saw a truck like that. Those big wheels that set it up high. 4-wheel drive, I expect. It rumbled. A lot of power." "Machinery in the back?" Dave asked. "Oh, yes." The old man nodded. He reached across to a glove compartment, held shut by an arrangement of thick rubber bands. He worked these with arthritic fingers. "I have some cups in here." The metal door of the glove compartment fell open. "Perhaps you'll share a little coffee." "Tastes great first thing in the morning." He pulled a cup out of the nest of 6 and carefully filled it from the thermos. His motions were slow and tidy. He handed the cup through the window to Dave. It was post-hole drilling equipment. The old man recapped the thermos. He put the cups back into the glove compartment and fixed it shut, again with the rubber bands. And on the front, there was an arrangement to attach something, probably a grater, for laying down roads, you know? "The coffee's good," Dave said. "Thank you. When did you see the truck?" "It was parked back up there." The old man raised a slow hand to point with a thumb over his shoulder. "I drive up there to turn around and come back down here to park in this space. This is a good old machine, but it doesn't have much left in reverse." 2 weeks ago." He wrinkled an already deeply wrinkled forehead. "Not quite. It was here when you arrived," Dave said. "That would be, what, 7 o'clock in the evening?" "Right about then," the old man said. He drank coffee and stared thoughtfully through the window. He shook his head. "No, that wasn't the first time. First time was Sunday, the day before. Early. I was fixing to leave. Boy with a black beard got out of it. He couldn't get in the building. They have to know you're coming, so they can come unlock the lobby door for you." "Who came?" Dave asked. "Who let him in?" "Maybe he never got in," the old man said. "He was still standing there when I left. He had on a cowboy hat." Now, he looked hard at Dave. "Do you know," he asked, "the Monday when I saw the truck up there? That was the one they'd been asking me about. The police. The sheriff who came and went that night." "Yes, sir. They'd been asking me about that night." A little weary smile twitched his mouth. "But they never asked me one time about that truck. You're the first one." The only one. But the boy with the beard wasn't in it when you saw it, Dave asked. Nobody was in it, but later on there was. Must have been getting on for midnight by then. He come out and tramped up right here past me, so close I could have stretched out my hand and touched him. He unlocked the truck and climbed in and slammed the door and drove it right on up the street to the top, and like you did just now. Alone, Dave said. No skinny little blonde teenage girl with him? Alone, the old man said. He sipped coffee and thought again for a minute. You ought to know why I remember that. Why I paid special attention, him getting in that truck and driving off. Oh, why was that? Dave said. Because he didn't look the same without the beard. I'd bet on possibly a wallet, Dave said. Almost certainly a duffel bag. Maybe even Marine or Army issue, and clothes. Work clothes. Levi's, chinos, work shoes. Maybe cowboy boots. Underwear, probably dirty since he didn't know his way around. The dark kid in uniform kept pulling cartons and parcels off steel shelving in the big room full of steel shelving. He and Dave looked into the cartons and parcels. When Dave shook his head, the kid pushed the cartons and parcels back in place. You know, he said, once I make detective, I'm going to quit and get into your line. I won't tell them you said that, Dave said. You need time to think it over. He reckoned the child's age at about 20. He was dark with a rosy flush under smooth skin. When you've had time, you'll change your mind. A date scrawled on a carton, and felt pen made him stop. Let's look at this one. I won't change my mind. The kid pulled the box off the shelf and held it for Dave. I've read about you in the magazines. I saw you on the Tomorrow Show. What you do is what I want to do. Be in the magazines, you mean? Dave said. Be on television? It was 20 years before that happened to me. You know what? It's a sign of... He poked among soiled, crumpled t-shirts and boxer shorts in the carton. White boot socks, stiff with sweat. There were no boots, no shoes, but there was a wallet, stitched with thongs around the edges and tooled with a cross entwined by lilies. The wallet was empty. Dirt-crusty work pants had been folded to lie flat. He lifted them. It's a sign your best days are behind you. Crushed khaki canvas, a knapsack, U.S. Army. He lifted it out, laid back the flap. The book was there. He removed it. Like the worn-out comedians on game shows. You don't look worn out, the kid said. Is that what you wanted? Dave nodded. The kid put the box back on the shelf. Dave said, before you get into the magazines and on TV, most of what's cluttered up your life has been boring. You didn't make it sound like that, the kid said. The boring part you don't talk about, Dave said. The book was 8 by 10. Not thick, but heavy. The cover was sleek, stamped fibrocoid, blue and gold. The gold partly rubbed off. Estaca High School, 1977. Naturally, Dave said. People watching the Tomorrow Show are sleepy. They only want to hear the exciting parts. Same for the magazine readers. He leaped over pages heavy with glossy coating. A girls' volleyball team under eucalyptus trees, mountains towering in the background. A football team, massive shoulder pads, gangly wrists. The a cappella choir in pleated robes, rows of little square photographs of faces, smiles. No smiles, impudence, dread, determination, defeat. Dental braces, acne, eyeglasses, perfect beauty. Frosh, soft, juniors. Charlene Sims looked at him. He checked inside the front cover. Charlene Sims in pale blue ballpoint. Then Charlene Tackleberry in dark blue ballpoint. Then Mrs. Billy Jim Tackleberry, 456 4th Street, Estaca, California. She dotted her eyes with circles. Dave handed back the book. Ever hear of Estaca? Know where it is? It means steak in Spanish. The kid pulled the carton out, dropped the book into it, pushed the carton back on the shelf. So maybe it has something to do with vineyards, right? Wine country. San Joaquin Valley? That should make you a detective pretty fast, Dave said. I might be wrong, the kid said. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold: to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides, and in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.